Faith and Fame with AV and my special guest, my homie, my brother, Gene Moore Jr.
What up, man?
Motown Gospel Rising Star is what they call you. Yeah, I Would Not Be Moved.
Yes, sir.
This brand new single that is out. This single is great. First of all, let me tell you that, I don't fluff with you.
Yeah.
We've been boys for a minute, but this brand new single, it is awesome.
Thank you, brother.
And I know you enlisted BJ, the Chicago kid, on this particular project. And why the title Won't Be Moved? I know it plays off of, an old protest anthem, I Should Not Be Moved, but why this particular title?
When I was talking with BJ, I told him that I wanted this record, everything on this record to be faith-driven and to give people some kind of hope. And so I didn't tell him, how to write it. I just gave him an idea. And so when I got the track from Said Smith, I want to give a shout out to Said Smith. He's an awesome producer here in Houston. And me and Said, we were thinking about who was going to write to the track. And so, that's very important because you can have a dope track,
right,
but you can have whack lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, when I heard the track, BJ would kill this, man. So we got the track. I called BJ up. I sent him the track. In about 2 weeks, he turned it around, sent it back to me. Lyrics, melody, and everything. Played it back. Me and Said we loved it, and then we were like, "Yep, this is the one."
Now, when I saw the video of it, I said, to me, this is a different Gene Moore Jr., but to my understanding is you say this is the norm for you.
Yeah, it's very much the norm. I tell everybody all the time that I'm a country boy.
Yeah.
And so
you got the hats in
yeah. So when I was talking with the label and they were communicating, my vibes and my ideas to the director, I want to give a shout out to Derek Blanks in Atlanta who directed the video.
Okay.
They were just saying, Gene is a country boy, so some kind of way let's try to connect the country ness, quote unquote, with the urban-ness.
Right.
And so, that's when they had me on the side of the road, hitchhiking, jumping on the tailgate of the dude's truck. I had the cowboy hat on and the boots. And if you notice at the beginning of the track, it starts out with like an old dirty guitar. It sounds like some kind of country and western movie. And then all of a sudden, the 808 drops.
Right.
So that's how we merged the two together, and I'm happy about it.
Now, this is going to be the sophomore project. First, like I call it, the introduction to the world. First project entitled The Future for you.
Yeah.
How have you seen yourself maturate or grow in this particular process from the future to now with Won't Be Moved?
Well, the first record was really kind of like figuring it out. I'm trying to figure out what direction I want to go. The label is trying to figure out what they want to do with me. Mm-hmm. And so it was really just like I don't want to call it an experiment, but in a way it kind of was, you know.
Yeah.
The freshman CD is always the introduction just to kind of create awareness. But this time around, I was very intentional, and I said that I wanted every song to encompass some level of faith. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I came up with Won't Be Moved. And I don't mean man, you know what I'm trying to say. Hey, that's when we came up with Won't Be Moved, and some of the other songs that you're going to hear. Jason Nelson wrote a beautiful song called We Ask for Rain, which is talking about expectancy. Then, myself and Dion Kipping and Dana Saray, we wrote another song called Take Care. So, you're going to hear some of those songs, but every single song is encompassing some level of faith. And the reason why I was so passionate about spreading that message of faith is just because of the things that I had to encounter in the last 2 years between the first record and the second record. I'm gonna try to make this real quick, but I was dealing with a lot of opposition. I was dealing with a lot of things that were coming against me, and I was in a position where I just said, God, what is going on?
Right.
And I didn't understand why I felt like life was just coming at me, like a ton of bricks. And I just recently got married, so I'm just like, well, how am I going to take care of a wife, and this is happening and that's happening, and then God reminded me of Joseph in the Bible, and Joseph had so many dreams and he saw himself doing great things, but then his circumstances were contrary to that. Well, when he was in the pit, it was in that pit where he learned a lot, and he was able to be trained, and learn how to be developed for what God was ultimately going to set him up to be.
Right.
So, I just had to look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, for everybody that don't really understand our history, we began working together back in the late 90s. I met you. He's the son of a pastor, so I met you at your dad's church while hosting a concert with Donnie McClurkin and CeCe Winans, and Gene came up to me and was like, "Hey, man, I'm Pastor's son," and I was like, "I didn't know you existed." And he was like, I knew your pastor had a daughter. I didn't know he had a son."
Yeah,
and then a couple of years later, we began working on a radio show together, doing an afternoon drive together, and you always talked about music and singing back then. That was the late 90s.
Right.
And so here we are, 2019 now, but of course the previous project, 2017, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that's some 18 years later.
Yeah.
And so I know the ebb and flow, the ups and downs, the frustration, the expectation.
Yeah.
How did you maintain your sanity in that and waiting some almost 20 years?
How did I maintain my sanity? Well, AV, I didn't always maintain my sanity, if I just be honest.
Because that's a long time, man.
Yeah, it's a very long time. There were times where I was angry with God, and then there were times where I was even...
I mean, you as a pastor's son, you were angry with God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because sometimes people say, well, you can't be angry with God.
Yeah.
But it's a reality.
It is a reality. I was angry with him, and then I was questioning my own self, wondering, well, am I in the right field? Am I doing something wrong? Why is it always popping off for everybody else and it's not popping off for me? But not to sound repetitive, but going back to Joseph, Joseph was a king already. Even before he got in the seat, he was already a king because that's what God predestined him to do. But before he had to take the seat of the king, he had to get trained. Well, he never had formal training until he got in the pit. And it's crazy how God sets things up, because he actually got trained and learned how to administrate and delegate and communicate over the other prisoners while he was in prison.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it, and for people that don't understand your training process, for you, you were able to tour with Kirk Franklin, Burrell. You were able to, and of course, you just recently came off tour with India Arie.
Yeah.
And those were just training grounds for you as a background singer, but you had the opportunity to sit on some big stages and see not only what it was going to be like for you, but how to handle yourself in those situations.
I'm gonna give you a funny story. When I was singing with Kirk Franklin, I remember the venue that we were at, and the air condition was out. And I remember that the sound was really like going in and out, and I could see the frustration on his face. But when he went out in front of the people, he had to think quick on his feet. He had to just jump on the keyboard, even though the other instruments weren't working. He had to just jump on the keyboard and just do things himself and try to get the crowd to sing with him, and he had to keep his game face on. The point that I'm making is that as a professional, as an artist, yes, even as a gospel artist, you have to know how to push through.
Right.
And if I didn't learn anything else, I learned that you have to learn how to push through. Even if they sitting, they looking at you crazy,
man.
It look like they ain't responding to you, you just got to keep pushing through.
Yeah. And for you, what was it like being with India Arie? Because she swears by you. I mean, she's giving you opportunity. Of course, when she's on tour, she pulls you to the front. You're doing your thing, and she's not intimidated by your success or your gift. She's pushing and promoting you forward. So what was that like for you?
It's really funny because she's become like a mentor to me.
Okay.
And so I playfully call her my coach.
Yeah.
And she playfully calls me her pastor.
As the pastor's son, yes.
And I don't go into the situation trying to hold up a Bible or trying to preach or nothing like that, but it's like the Bible says, just let your light shine. And so she respects me. She respects my position, in Christ and what I stand for. And so she just started calling me pastor. But anyway, she has really poured into me, giving me a lot of wisdom nuggets, and she has nothing to gain from it, and that's what I really respect so much about her. She has nothing to gain, but she's been pouring into me wisdom nuggets. Every time we go out, she's telling the crowd about my old CD and telling them that I'm working on a new CD, telling them, follow him. And I mean, as a result of that, my followers on Instagram hiked up my old CD sales, and that first record is old, but the old CD sales started hiking up, so I mean, she's really been a blessing. I appreciate her.
Yeah. Talk about your dad, Pastor Gene A. Moore Sr. He was definitely mentored me, and I had the opportunity to sit under him for years, so I could go on and on and on. And you know how I feel about your dad, but it's different when it's coming from you, because your mom and your dad, they have just been pushing you and supportive of you and watching you grow and develop and allowing you to grow into the person that God has you to be today. But talk about the impact of your father on you.
Well, my dad is a faith man. You know, his entire ministry, the bane of his existence, is all about faith.
Yeah.
And I've watched my dad go through so much adversity, and he continues to still stand. And so one of the many things that I've learned from my father is just to hold on to God and just to believe. You know, I really can't even expand more than that because everything that he does is faith. You know, my dad is my hero.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I love him. You know that. And of course, as you mentioned earlier, you got married December 2018. You left me out here in a single life. We've been boys forever. I thought we were going to be single forever like bad boys for life. But that's a whole other story. But talk about your wife, man. I know you guys had a unique dating process that you put it to the test.
Yeah.
Like if we're going to do it like this, if it works, we're going to succeed. Talk about that.
Yeah, so my wife and I, prior to getting married, we've known each other for years, and we would always go through periods in life where we would be in touch, get out of touch, and when we got out of touch, it was never anything negative. It was just life transitions, and so we would lose touch, get back in touch. And so one day I randomly called her up, and I said, you know what, we've been doing this way too long. It must be something here.
Yeah.
So let's just go on a date. And so we went on a date. That one date turned into another and another and another. But before we got too deep, we said, you know what, let's try this out for about 2 months to see if we really, really want to do this.
Okay.
And if we don't want to do this, then we can agree to just part ways and just be friends, you know? So that month turned into another and another and another. And finally, we realized that we were both falling in love. And the rest is history.
Yeah, man. You had like an all-star lineup at your wedding. Of course, you talked about Jason Nelson, who I thought, man, I was like, man, Jason is singing the heck out of this song.
Yeah,
which so happened to
it.
be a single, but I mean, it was just the perfect combination of music that you had. It was like an all-star wedding. You had like 80 people in your wedding party. I think the longest wedding in history that I was part of. But,
we were looking at photos, and I told my wife, I said, man, look at me and the groomsmen. We looking like the men's choir.
Yes, indeed.
Like when you look at everybody, I was like, yo, we looking like the men's choir. But see, the thing is, we know so many people, you know, and we didn't want to leave anybody out, man.
And nobody wanted to be left out. You know, everybody wanted to participate. And we had a lot of fun being a part of the wedding party. So when you're, around good people and you see two people that genuinely love each other, it's just that whole momentum moving forward for you guys. I know it's going to be a great impact. So you definitely won't be moved.
Yeah.
And this new single that you have is hot. When is the full project coming out?
Full project comes out August the 23rd. And as far as the single, you can get it anywhere music is sold. So I'm just encouraging everybody to go out and purchase the CD. I know we're in a streaming age right now, and you can just listen to it for free. But please support Kingdom Music. Won't be moved anywhere music is sold. And then pre-order for my album information will be out pretty soon.
Motown's gospel rising star, they call him. My buddy, my friend, Gene Moore Jr. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. Love you, brother, and I appreciate you having me.
Love you too. It's Faith and Fame with AV. I won't be moved.